As you may know, I have a webinar about standing up for yourself in a connecting way. If you haven't seen that webinar, if you haven't joined yet, I have a link down below this video. And in this webinar, I got the following question a lot. How do I share something honestly with someone when I'm so scared that they might get hurt? And so I decided to answer this question in a video, to dedicate a full video to it, and I have 5 tips for you how to deal with this issue. So the first thing is this mantra, which is, I do care, I don't cause. And I'm sharing this with you because if you are scared to hurt someone, it's probably because when someone gets hurt, you feel guilty or uncomfortable in any way. And so in order to kind of protect yourself a little bit from this guilt, I will actually do a whole separate video about guilt. It's a whole chapter in itself. I will link to it up below when I have it finished. But for now, I just want to keep it simple and just remind you that in NVC, we say that you don't cause anyone's feelings. You don't cause because, someone has their own thoughts and those thoughts create their feelings. So you might do something that trigger those thoughts, but you don't cause the feelings. And so when you tell yourself, I do care, I don't cause, you remind yourself that you don't cause the feelings. And probably, if you're watching this video, I imagine you're the kind of person that actually cares deeply about how other people feel, which is kind of ironic, right? But so probably you really care about how someone feels and you're really affected by that. And so if that's the case, just remind yourself of this mantra, I do care, I don't cause. My second tip is to express that you're scared to the person. So when you're going to go and talk with this person, before you say your message, the thing that you want to share, actually acknowledge that you're scared. You might say like, hey, I feel a little bit scared because, something happens in me when I see hurt in another person. I'm afraid that you might feel hurt with my message. And additionally, you can add a little proposal to it. So if you do feel some pain when I'm sharing my message, maybe we can listen to you. Or if you do feel pain when I share my message and I don't manage to listen to you, can we find someone else that has some time and space for you? Right? So you actually, instead of thinking, here I am with my scary message, oh my God, I gotta say this, actually make this a thing of working together. You're both human beings, you both want the best for each other. And so make sure you work together with this person to find something that will actually soothe you a little bit. Number 3 is to share your message in the most connecting way. So with nonviolent communication, you can actually create a message that is easier to hear for the other person. So it's less likely that they will feel hurt. And so you do this, as you may know, by walking 4 steps. And so I will link a video to this above where I will explain everything about that. But just to say very shortly, you will start by sharing an observable thing, an observation. Very important, no evaluation, no judgments about what's happening between the two of you. And then you share your feeling, then you share your need, which has nothing to do with the person, so you make it that they won't take it personal. And then you share a very clear request. And this is very important, that you make a request so they feel like they actually are empowered to do something with whatever you're sharing. So in NVC, we say that a request should be very specific and clear. And so instead of just saying, I'm not happy with how we're working together, you're just going to be very specific and clear. So, I thought about it long and hard, and I really want to end our work relationship here. And I would actually like it if we can round up things this week. So by the end of next week, we have everything wrapped up and finished. So this might sound harsh in some way, but it's way more, in a way, the pain is shorter for the other person because you're being very clear about what you want, and instead of leaving it vague, which will create all kinds of stories in them. The human brain starts filling it in, and it's way more painful than it actually is. Number 4 is to check in with the person in between. What I mean by that is I often see my students preparing a talk, and they have this whole, script. Maybe you can relate to this. You write down everything. You've almost memorized it, maybe what you want to say. And then once you see the person, you want to, this whole tension has been building up, and you want to just offload and just throw the whole message on their plate, which might be several paragraphs at once. This is like super overwhelming for a person, as you might imagine. You already know what you're going to say, but for the person it might be an entire surprise. And so I want to recommend you to really, really, really slow down, even talk slowly, but especially break up your message in kind of like digestible bits and check in with the person after every bit. So you might start saying, for example, hey, you didn't reply to my last email, right? Do you see what I'm doing? Instead of continuing, and maybe this person goes like, which email? What is she talking about? And they're all distracted and overwhelmed by the feeling that I'm going to share next. You check in with them. Are we on the same page? Then you continue. I feel a little bit concerned about the project we're doing. I would love some clarity about where you are in the project. Can we go over all the things that need to be done and see where you are with it? So in this quick sentence, I did like feeling, need, request. And then again, I check in with them, like how would that be for you? And especially if you have several points that you want to make, maybe the person did several things that you want to discuss, make sure that you wrap up one point, they have full understanding, you check how it was to hear with the person, so you can also know if they're actually spacious to take in another bit. Number 5 is to practice the dialogue. I've said this before in other videos, but it's so helpful that I want to make sure that you hear it and that you actually do it. So if you have a scary dialogue coming up, practice it with a person that you trust. Just say whatever you would say to the person that it's about, and then let your dummy person, let them tell you which parts are connecting and which parts maybe need a little bit of work, maybe need a bit more self-connection, a bit more empathy for you, so you can really reach deep and don't make it personal about the other person. And then I have a little bonus tip in case someone does get hurt, which is, actually not that unlikely. It happens all the time, right? Even if your message is perfect, people might take it personal just for their own reason. It has nothing to do with you. And so what do you do when that happens? Well, there's a few things that might happen when someone feels pain. They might get angry with you, and I'm aware I'm mentioning a lot of videos that I'm still going to create, but I'm going to create a separate video about what to do when someone feels anger and expresses their anger towards you. It's about you, right? So this is a bit more advanced, so I want to have a separate video about that. The second thing is someone might be sad and have tears. They might be crying. For most people, this is not very triggering and you might actually feel compassion for the person, but check yourself if it actually is affecting you in a way that you start to maybe adjust your message in a way that's not so honest, or you even adjust what you want to have or do, right? So check yourself how tears are affecting you. The other thing is that someone might, instead of expressing themselves, which in a way is helpful because then you know what's going on, actually retreats and maybe doesn't want to continue the talk. I actually made a video already about that, so I'm gonna refer to that so you can see what you can do when someone is like, I don't want to talk anymore. That's not the end of the dialogue. I have a lot of tips what you can do in that case. And what you can do as well after this happened, after you wrap up the talk in whatever way, get some empathy for yourself, especially if you do find it scary to, share a message honestly. If it's new for you, if you're practicing this, make sure you have some people around you that maybe know NVC ideally and can listen to you empathically and just help you. And a little bit of encouragement for me, the way I see it is that whenever a dialogue is challenging, it's because it's challenging some, deeper, older patterns in ourselves. And so whenever you actually manage to have the talk and you are able to conclude it in a kind of satisfying way, this can be very healing for those old patterns. And so imagine that every dialogue that you have is an opportunity for healing for you, and maybe that will encourage you to actually take the leap, because it can be scary.